Hey, Marianne.
Exciting. Nope. I forgot something. I forgot to grab my red gloves.
Oh, you
So,
gotta have those. I forgot my work gloves.
so good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. And like I like to say, good morning, good morning. So, good morning. It's a wonderful day here in Hawaii, and I am excited to have Darrell Ellis on as a guest today. So, red gloves chat. Usually I put on my red gloves because we take a different approach to life and different things in business. However, I'm not going to ask Darrell to put on any red gloves, but if he wants to put on some farming gloves, he sure can. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Marianne Roos, and I am a speaker, author, and serial entrepreneur. And most people know me as the client attraction and retention specialist, to where I help business develop better relationships using multiple tools. And if they don't have the time to learn or to implement those tools, then I also have solutions for that. But you know what? Let's go on to our guest today. So, Mr. Darrell Ellis. So
Hey,
Darrell Ellis is with Cornerstone Life Company, and we'll find out a little bit more about that in a moment, to where he has lived kind of like all over the U.S. I don't know. Have you lived in other countries also?
nope, just the
Nope.
U.S.
Just the U.S. All right. So all over the U.S., but mostly lived in the San Diego, California area. And right now you're living in Ahualoa. Ahualoa.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first heard that that's where you lived, I was thinking you were living in Holualoa.
Right, right there
And
in the
I
corner.
was like, oh, you're right around the corner from me. But you know what? No, you are in Ahualoa, which is not around the corner from me because the big island is big and it's nicknamed that for a reason, right?
That's right.
So you're at the very top, and instead of being right next door. And you have dogs that are rusty and timber, and we've seen some fun photos with that, along with your goats. Now you know me and goats. I love goats, and also a lot of chickens and ducks, which you can probably hear some in the background here because we have quite a few in the area. It's Hawaii, right? It's Hawaii.
Right.
And you have not written a book at this time. However, I have a feeling there's a book inside you that needs to come out because you have had quite a few experiences in life, and that you have a special voice and people need to hear a message that you have within you. So something to think about for the future. Now, a little bit of background history on Darrell. So when he was a kid, he did move all over Western United States. As we mentioned earlier, he moved almost every year on average. But the longest that he stayed somewhere was San Diego, California. He was an EMT right out of high school at the age of 18. I don't know. You're the only 18-year-old that I know that wants to do that coming out of high school, or that's able to do that, because that's intense. Yes. And that was in Los Angeles, of all places. So that's like 10x intense. You did that for a year before starting work in business to business sales. And you've been doing that for at least 20 years. Yeah. And you've mostly worked in the tech industry. You've had some changes around that. And you've trained to be a pastor. And you've been doing that since you were the age of 19. So I'm going to have some questions about that. And now you've been a pastor also going on for 6 years. Mm-hmm. So with that, let's get the bar rolling and let's just talk story. So EMT. Mm-hmm. At the age of 18, how did that come about?
Well, I wanted to be a firefighter at the time. So while I was in high school, I went to night school to be an EMT, actually. And as soon as I graduated, I took the test, and was able to get hired right away with AMR in LA. And so we ran with County Fire and provided transport. And it was a lot of fun. I got to work in Santa Monica, Hollywood, Inglewood, Compton, you name it. I probably worked there. It was a lot of fun.
Ooh, Compton.
Yep, very exciting.
That's an intense area. I thought LA was intense, but yeah, when you go down to Compton, that can be even more intense.
Yeah, can be.
From what I've heard, I've never been there. From what I've heard,
Yeah,
yeah,
very exciting job for an 18-year-old, especially.
yeah. Do you have like a favorite story of something that happened as an EMT?
No, I mean, there's tons of them. I got to meet Darrell Strawberry's dad once, which was really cool. The famous baseball player. I met his father. Unfortunately, not on great circumstances. He was having some struggles with his heart at the time, but really nice gentleman. So, you get to meet a lot of different people in LA, that's for sure, when you're showing up at their place after a 911 call. So,
Thank you for specifying who Darrell Strawberry was, because I was like, who's Darrell Strawberry?
you're a baseball fan, you know.
I know how to play baseball, but I don't know any names or faces. That's wow. And then, so you also transitioned, and you said pastor. You started that when you were 19.
Yeah, I surrendered to the ministry, as we call it, at 19. And then I was in training from that point on until I became a pastor, which was 6 years ago. So I trained for that entire period with my pastor, who taught me and trained me. And so, it was a long, extensive period before I ever pastored.
Wow.
But I taught regularly up to that point.
Wow. And so then 6 years ago, does that mean that you started your own church?
No, I actually started pastoring a church I was already a part of. The former pastor stepped down, which was my father-in-law, and I took over as pastor. And so I've been doing that ever since there.
Wow. Wow. And so that's here on the Big Island.
That's correct. Yeah.
So with everything that happened last year, how did you and your church pivot for being able to still being of service to one another and supporting your church community?
Well, it was definitely a challenge with COVID, with having to go to remote services for a period of time. It was a challenge using Zoom and getting everybody acquainted with that. It's definitely not the same as in person, but we made it work for the time that we had to. And thankfully, it wasn't for as long a period as some had to do it. So we were really excited to get back together in person.
Yay. Yeah, I love in-person stuff too. That's for sure.
Me too. Yeah, hard to be.
Yeah. And so you are an entrepreneur. You've been in sales for over 20 years, and you made that transition to becoming an entrepreneur. And it seems like it was just like yesterday, but it wasn't, to where you went through that whole transition. Can you share with us what drew you to being your own boss and having your own business and going that route of being an entrepreneur?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I always wanted to own my own business. I just didn't know what business. So I thought about, maybe I'll start a lawn care business. Maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do that. And I could never settle on something that worked. So I kind of took jobs here and there in sales or management. And then finally, I just landed in insurance by just chance. It just happened that way that I ended up there. And I fell in love with, the specific type of insurance that I deal with. And so I knew, okay, here's my chance. I can start a business. I can have the freedom to build something that I really love. And then I can take care of my clients in the exact way I want to do it. Customer service is huge to me. And having the right approach and dealing with people without any kind of hindrance in the way of that. I can do it exactly how I feel like it should be done and how I would want to be treated. And I love that. I get to be creative in that approach and really think outside the box, which I love.
And so in the insurance world, there's a wide variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And which is the one that connects more with your passion?
Yeah, well, I started out in doing everything pretty much, property, casualty, the whole thing. And then I found out that I really loved life insurance the most. That was my favorite. And so I started to hone in on that. And then that's what I ended up starting my business based on.
So with life insurance, do you have any experiences, whether personal or that you've witnessed, as to why that is such a passion for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with many people, whether clients or friends, who have lost loved ones and had to gather the family together to put together money just to bury them or to have them cremated, which is very heartbreaking, let alone pay for any remaining issues or bills. And so to see families struggle in that way at that time when you're trying to mourn the loss of your family member, it was hard to see that. And I've also seen families left without a primary income, coming into the family, and then having to struggle on top of the loss of their loved one. And so I saw, it kind of hit me in the heart, that people really do need this. And there's other ways to approach it. And I like that. I like that I can think outside the box in that. So it definitely is something that I think multiple experiences have brought me to the point where I see the value in it. And it's something that I think is necessary, and it's also beneficial. And it's not just something that's a frustration or a cost if you approach it correctly, which that's the part I love.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big believer in having life insurance. Both me and my husband have life insurance.
Good. Excellent.
And the way that we see it is life insurance is like that love letter that you pray and hope your loved ones will never need to open.
Sure.
But should they have that need to open it, that they will have at least that peace of mind from a financial standpoint, right, to where, like you were saying, costs that come up, but also to where they can take time off of work, right, to go through that grieving process. And each person has their own different timing. So to where if they need to take a couple of weeks off, or if they need to take a couple of months off, to where they don't have to then worry about where are my bills going to get paid. Where is that going to come from?
Yeah, so that's a huge burden off people's back, right?
Yeah. That's how we see life insurance as, to where it's that love letter. You do it because you love your family, and you never want them to have to open that letter. That's for sure.
Right.
But it's there. It's there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's wonderful that you feel that way.
And so I'm wondering, do you ever have people that have those love letters that are single? They don't have a family.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Whether they're preparing for a potential family down the road, or whether they're using it to make sure that they want to take care of their charity or some organization that they want to take care of and help, or maybe other family members. There's lots of reasons to purchase. Of course, also time and age, right? Your health. When you're single, sometimes you're still young and healthy. That's a great time to get something set up. So it's a good time. You never know when you might be uninsurable. It's definitely. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm a big fan of having life insurance. That's for sure. And so for you, you do that as your own business. You are an entrepreneur, and being an entrepreneur, what is something that you have noticed to where it has impacted your life in a positive fashion that maybe you did not expect, and maybe you weren't thinking that it would do that for your life?
Well, I would say it definitely reduced stress on me, which I didn't think it would. I thought I would have to be a little more stressed because you have a guaranteed paycheck coming, right? You got to go make that happen. And so I would say, the freedom that came with that and the less stress that came with it was really surprising to me, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
that was
a
big benefit.
Less stress. Yeah. And so you work from home,
mm-hmm,
especially at the moment, and you can do now. You're able to meet people in person, little by little. Right. Following the guidelines that are being, changing.
Sure. Right.
And as an entrepreneur, you have some type of schedule, I'm guessing. That way you're not working 24/7 since you're home.
Right. Absolutely. I think that one of the trickiest parts was actually trying to retrain my brain that I'm not an employee anymore. I don't have just tasks to do. I've got to be planning and have vision and goals and all of those things, plus then have a structure to the day with some boundaries, because I work from home. I could work anytime, but I have a family. I have my wife and I have animals and a farm to take care of, and pasturing, of course. And so, learning to set some boundaries and make sure that work is work really was important. Very helpful, especially working from home.
Yeah. And for somebody that is just getting started in their own business, what kind of tips would you suggest for them? What kind of recommendation would you suggest?
Oh, right off the bat, I'd say have fun with it, enjoy it. That was something that I'm really just learning to love, enjoy the work that I do, and really enjoy the approach I can take and the freedom to approach it that way. But I would say one of the most important things that I take very, very seriously is I try to always be educating myself. So I think learning your craft and really getting to self, invest in yourself and really put in lots of things to help, whether it's trainings, pay for it. It's worth the money to pay for that training because it will make you a better professional and better able to help your clients and give you that extra boost of confidence that you're doing what's best for them. So I think investing in yourself is huge.
Key point: investing, personal development, training. Do you do a lot of reading as well as part of your personal development and training?
Absolutely. I love reading. I love Audible. So I have a huge Audible library. I enjoy, books on all kinds of things, whether it's history, whether it's business, my specific profession in insurance or farming. I love them all. And so I'm a huge, huge fan of books.
Wow.
Podcast.
Do you have a favorite one that you're listening to or reading at the moment?
At the moment, not specifically. I of course love anything by Zig. So I always go back to Zig Ziglar stuff over and over again because I come from a sales background, right? So, but Zig he deals with the mind, the mindset and taking care of people and things like that. And of course, always the scriptures are the basis for how I deal with people, right? I learn how to treat people from the way that the scriptures teach that. And so that's the book that's always on my mind and always something that I'm taking part in. And then, lately I've been reading a ton of books on, of course, infinite banking and all kinds of neat stuff, So I try to have a wide range, and I love farming books, a lot of stuff that people would think that's not fun to read at all, but I enjoy it. So I'm a big Joel Salatin fan, if you've ever heard of him. He writes on regenerative agriculture, and my favorite from him, if you at all want to read anything with farming, is Folks, This Ain't Normal, and it's hilarious, and there's even an audio version of it. And he's just a really great author.
Nice. So for business development, things with Zig Ziglar, and then farming, you said Joel
Salatin.
Joe Salatin.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, great recommendations. Yes, the cool thing that we've been noticing on a weekly basis as we get together with different entrepreneurs, we have different books that we like to read. And glad to hear that not just business development and things that you're reading, but since you also do farming, you're reading books about farming.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe there's somebody that's watching or that will catch the replay that does farming as well. So that could be another golden nugget, for them to go, oh, I need to add that book to my list, because that's what's been happening with the books that we're sharing.
Yeah, that's great.
People have been commenting, oh, I hadn't read that book. I'm adding it to my list, or to where they've read the book and comment, in more about it.
Absolutely.
Just like last week, Nicole was talking about the book on coffee bean, Be a Coffee Bean. I need to ask her the specific title, but it's about being like a coffee bean, to where in life you have different experiences and you have a choice of what you're going to act or react and be like. And so the example that she shared, and I think it came from the book, the example is that circumstances will affect how we are, such as, for example, a carrot. If you put that in boiling water, it will get soft, and the more you boil it, it will get, mushy. An egg, if you put that in hot boiling water, it will become hard. With the coffee bean, on the other hand, it will then spread itself through the whole water.
Wow, absolutely. It's one of the best fruits available. I think it's a
fruit. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. We'll have to ask somebody.
Yeah, maybe Jody Jennings is on. Maybe he knows if maybe he knows if it's a fruit or a bean, because it's called a coffee bean.
Yeah, but they call the fruit a cherry, so I was always confused. I thought it was, not. I said they call the fruit, but they call whatever that red thing is a cherry.
Yeah, yeah.
Learn something new.
There's always something new to learn, and that's one thing that we know as business owners and entrepreneurs. Every day we learn something new, we sharpen our skills, we keep our mind filled with the good stuff. The mind is like an umbrella, just be careful what you put in it, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
it matters.
yeah. So we talked a little bit about, as an entrepreneur, what you noticed that was a benefit that you had not expected, such as having less stress,
Right.
which is a wonderful benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it is something that not everyone sees at first,
Right.
because at first it could be, I need to do everything,
Sure.
when there are actually other ways. So it's one approach to business of doing everything.
Right.
And there are challenges that do come about in business.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had a challenge in specific that might come to mind to where you can share about that, and a workaround or a solution that you have found that maybe could be helpful to others?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was the struggle with employee mindset versus entrepreneur mindset, right? So I had to shift gears on that, and so that required me really putting in a structure of what do I think is valuable, right? What's important for the business, because I have to work on the business, not just in it, right? And if I don't do that, that's why I go to BNI. BNI helps me. I deal with other business owners who are all trying to better their business, do better. So we're thinking about ways to work on our business, which is huge. And you have to really shift your mindset for that. You also have to think of time differently, and really figure out, what do you value most, and one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is actually getting to have some flexibility in that. So learning to use that and not just think, hey, I've got to put in my 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours or whatever it is. So, I found that to be helpful. And then, of course, as a part of that, also reading things that help with mindset, right? Making sure that my mindset was good, because it's easy to get down if you have a bad day and you don't have a whole group around you maybe saying, hey, it's going to be okay, let's keep going. You've got to somewhat do that for yourself and surround yourself with people who have that mindset, who have the right attitude.
That's like a truth bomb. Poosh. Yeah.
I don't have a mic to drop, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to drop the mic. It's kind of connected to my computer.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
Nice. So yes, you mentioned BNI. So BNI is a networking organization. It is a wide organization. You and I are actually in the same BNI chapter,
Yep.
and BNI is all about networking. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to networking, what do you see networking to be? How would you define it?
Well, I would say it's building relationships, right? That's the biggest thing, building relationships and figuring out how you can help others accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. And of course, the law of reciprocity says that they're going to do the same for you. And so it's a great environment to be able to, if you don't have a limited mindset of competition and things like that, if you can get past that and really just enjoy helping other business owners accomplish what they're doing, then you'll really see the same back to you. And that's a good environment to be in. And BNI really cultivates that.
So how has BNI, being a member, how has that helped your business?
Oh, tremendously. I mean, if you're going to start a business, that's the way to do it, because you instantly have mentors and you have people that are experienced in business. They can give you great advice, and you can go to them often to accomplish that. It gives you a great jump start on word of mouth, which is the best way to grow a business. And so, especially in Hawaii, I think in Hawaii, BNI thrives because word of mouth is naturally already the way you do business here. And so this just kind of accelerates that because of the relationships that you build. I mean, I've been in for, 8 or 9 years, I think it is, and you're even longer than that. So by that time, I have good friends in that chapter and other chapters. So it's a great place to build relationships.
Yeah, when you first joined BNI, it was when you were doing sales, and that was in the technology industry.
Right.
And then you transitioned to where now you are your own business owner, and you are in the life insurance industry, and you're helping give peace of mind to individuals and families. So that is huge. And I'm glad that you're in our chapter, because we get to connect and we get to chat and we get to support and mastermind. So
Yeah. And truthfully, I mean, a big part of the reason why I went into business for myself was seeing all of the business owners in BNI. So that was a big push for me, because I loved what they got to do. And I thought, I want to do that one day. When it's the right fit for me, that's when I want to do it, in the right timing. So I think when you do
yeah,
that, you can really enjoy what you do.
yeah, that is true. And yeah, I've seen some other business owners to where when they first joined BNI, they were an employee.
Sure.
And through the mentorship and the skills that they learned, because there's a lot of education and mindset that we focus on, to where then they went on and started their own business. So a lot of, yeah, yeah, a lot of business, a lot of evolution takes place when you do all that networking. So that is definitely a great tool for business owners. And networking, even, networking in BNI, networking outside of BNI, it is all key, because you're building relationships.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we wrap up, do you have any golden nuggets or any other tips that you would like to share with the world?
Well, I'll say, one thing I learned from Keola, who was in our chapter and now is our director consultant for the BNI chapter. He kind of taught me a lot about, in business, you do have to have your ethics set in place first, and your mindset and thinking, as far as what principles do you have. And I love that he thought that way. And so that really inspired me as I thought about the business I wanted to create. Okay, now I could start with the foundation being right, with the right mindset and the right principles and thinking. And then from there, everything else will fall into place in its time. If you start by treating people right, and by having an attitude of givers gain, right, like we talk about, and thinking about how you can help, and I think you have to keep shifting back to that over and over again, because it's easy to get on the mindset of, how do I grow my business only, rather than actually looking bigger than that into the community.
Yeah.
I would
Thank
say
you.
those things are valuable.
Thank you. That is so key, for sure. And so for anyone that has questions and would like to talk with you, Darrell, they can get a hold of you through your website. So it's right there on the screen, cornerstonelifeco.com.
You got it.
And they can reach
Find me on
out.
Facebook also, and any of those ways, you should be able to find me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate that you joined in today for our Red Gloves chat. And
I appreciate it your time. I'm honored to be able to be one of the first ones that got to do it with you. So this is great.
I'm glad that you're here. And I want to say thank you to everyone on Facebook that is watching, and also the future viewers that will be on YouTube, since this will be going on YouTube later on today. And if you're catching the replay, feel free to comment replay and add any questions that you may have, so that we can respond to you at a later time. So everyone, have a fabulous day, and thank you. Aloha.
Yes. Have a great day. Aloha.